Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network along with Donald Eng. I am Frank Granito. Don, big show today as we will preview the first 8 schools of our fall FCX tour. But before we get to that, we have some breaking news here from the HAN Network. And I am very happy to announce that as of this morning, the HAN Network will be joining forces with Vantage Sports Network from Frontier Communications in time for the HAN's fall season of broadcasts. Frontier subscribers will now be able to watch HAN's coverage of Fairfield County high school sports. Don, in less than 365 days, we have had over 1.5 million viewers. And now with this opportunity, we get to expand that number. This is so exciting.
It really is, and it's a testament to the hard work put in by a lot of people, whether it was people that were directing and just coming on board and pitching in wherever they could and helping out, and people, directors, producers, people on air, in front of the cameras, behind the cameras. Everything came together, and it's just a very big development, a very exciting day.
You're right. It is a testament to all the hard work of all the sports editors, everyone behind the scenes, both production and just from those who man the cameras, Eric on the switchboard, to the broadcast itself. It's a full project that gets put together, and we now get to see it paid off. And this is great. We're talking about the largest telecommunications company in all of Connecticut. You can still watch online, but we've just completely expanded the market now to a whole new part of the state.
And the good thing is what it's always been about is that it allows people to really get involved and follow the news, follow the local news from their hometowns, and most importantly, the local sports. We're talking about grandparents being able to watch their kids play soccer and things like that. Or that is really what this is about.
And it's great. This debut will be in time now for when we go to Tiger Hollow on September 9th for Trumbull at Ridgefield. Then we have Stanford hosting Danbury on the 10th. But it's not just limited to football. We'll have all of the field hockey games, boys and girls soccer. You'll have volleyball. We're doing the cross-country championships. We might see the swimming and diving championships this fall. All of these games and events are now hosted on this platform, and you're not just limited to Fairfield County anymore. It's the entire state of Connecticut who gets to watch this incredible conference on display.
Right, yeah, and so that's so now in addition to the HAN Network, I guess it's going to be on Vantage Sports Network. That's channel 600, 1600. If you don't get Frontier, you can call 866-406-VANTAGE. So that's how you can tune in to watch all these sports action that we're talking about.
And again, we want to remind everyone that this is not to remove any of our online content. You can still see all of our broadcasts live and on demand at HAN.network. But Don, just when you think about where this company has come from in just a year, and I joined on in the winter, and I was simply standing inside the glass at hockey games, still wearing a jacket, begging to get HAN written on the side of it. But it's incredible how far we've come in so short a time, and what we're about to embark on now, going to television. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, because it was always available for people online. But not everyone wants to cast from their laptop or from their phone to the TV. Some people still want traditional broadcast on a television, and that's what they have now. It's very exciting for us. It's very exciting for fans of the FCX.
We also want to take the time to thank the FCX for their partnership with us. It's it's just a great conference to get to work with both the student athletes and the athletic directors, to the board to the president's board, everyone associated with the conference. It just makes it that much more fun for us and makes what we're doing that much more worth it. We are excited to continue broadcasting all of the championship teams that we are going to see, and we know we'll see plenty more based on what we saw last year as well.
Right, and of course we were saying, for the last couple of weeks we've been saying that Trumbull at Ridgefield on Friday night, September 9th, was going to be a big game and a very exciting game on the HAN Network, and now even more so.
And we can announce, too, that on Saturday, September 10th, we will be doing the Danbury at Stanford football game. That kicks off from Boyle Stadium at 1:30. So you again now will be able to watch that game live at HAN.network and on the Vantage Sports channel, Vantage Sports Network. We will also have soccer, boys soccer, Bridgeport Central at West Hill. That'll be on Monday after those two games. Then we'll have volleyball with Fairfield Ludlow playing Staples that first week. And then we come back on Friday, Don, and you'll have Ridgefield High School at New Canaan. It's a very, and we've talked about our fall, the first month of that broadcast. It's a very, very exciting month already. We have a lot of great games just in those first 2 weeks, but the fact that we get to do all of this now on television, it's great. It's just great.
It really is, and the best part is that these athletes, these student athletes that work and represent their school with pride and dignity in every sport that they play, they're going to get a chance to show their talents on a wider network. So it's just a great deal all around.
And one more time, in case you are just joining us a little late, as of this morning, the HAN Network has joined forces with the Vantage Sports Network from Frontier Communications. They will be in time for the HAN's fall broadcast this season. Frontier subscribers are now able to watch all of the HAN's coverage of the Fairfield County High School sports. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's very exciting, and we'll have more details in the days to come. But once again, that is HAN and Frontier Communications partnering up. You can see us now on channel 600 and 1600. That is the Vantage Sports Network. Don, shifting gears now, we've obviously got the FCX Tour coming up this Thursday. We will be starting the tour at the Home of Champions for 2015-2016, and that's the Darien Blue Wave. And let's start with volleyball as our sport. This is a Darien volleyball team that went undefeated through the regular season. One of the best teams we've seen, and it's a program that is perennially at the top of the FCX and at the top of the state. They come up short last season as they fall at the hands of Fairfield Ludlow in the FCX. Let's talk about Darien volleyball and what we can expect when we go meet with them on Thursday.
Well, what you can expect is what you always get from Darien volleyball. You can expect a high level of play. I don't expect them to drop very much, if at all, from last season. 16-0 last year. Probably asking a lot to have another undefeated season, but I don't expect them to really fall outside the top two, at least in that FCX Eastern Division.
First in the Eastern Division were they last year. They lose 3-1 in the championship game. A little bit of salt in the wound, and I think we'll hear this from some of the players as to why they're really looking forward to matching up with Ludlow again. Quarterfinals of states, they face off against the number 9 seed Ludlow again and fall at the hands of the Falcons 3-2. This is a Ludlow team that didn't only just win the FCX, they won states as well.
They did, yeah, and Ludlow also had a great year last year, finishing 13-3, and then making that run through the FCX playoffs and then through the state playoffs. But it's kind of just one of those things, Darien had beaten them in the regular season, and Ludlow pulled it together and was just playing very well down the stretch. And when you run into a hot team, some quality sets, some big hits, and strong play around the net. Ludlow managing to pull off 2 straight upsets against Darien.
And we will see that Ludlow team week 1 of our season, excuse me, when they go and play against Staples. Don, moving on, let's look at Brian McMahon. That'll be our second stop in their volleyball team.
McMahon also another great year as far as for the Senators, 12-4 in the FCX Eastern Division. That was good for 3rd place in the East, 4th overall on the tiebreaker, beating Greenwich in the tiebreaker because they had beaten Greenwich during the regular season. McMahon 12-4, another strong team. We kind of overlooked them a little bit because they were a game behind Ludlow, and Ludlow then making the 2 tournament runs. But again, there's a lot of quality teams at the top of that FCX. Just going on down the list.
And that's a McMahon team that really carried the Senators in the fall. When you look at, they didn't have a lot of success with some of their other programs in the fall. Soccer, middle of the pack, field hockey there as well. And football still almost in a rebuilding period right now. But another team that they don't only lose to Greenwich in the FCX, they come back, have to fall to them again in states. Both times they lose by a total of 6-0 in sets, getting shut out. We're excited to meet with those captains. I think this is a McMahon team that can rebuild, brings back some players. They're obviously going to have revenge on the mind when they get the Cardinals into town, but they're not far from the top of the pack.
No, they really aren't, and it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain sometimes. Where you have, for example, with a town that has 2 high schools, McMahon 12-4, one of the top teams in the FCX, compared to Norwalk 1-15 last year. A big rebuilding job ahead of them. I'm curious to see how they rebound this year.
And Norwalk 1-15, they were 8th in the Eastern Division. They miss out on FCX, obviously miss out on states as well. It's an interesting case, and you bring up a great point that you've got the 2 high schools in one town. You're going to see McMahon 12-4. It's very unlikely that you'll see both of those high schools be able to put out championship caliber teams just from a depleted talent pool by this split.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, McMahon and Norwalk are both Class LL schools, but they're kind of on the smaller scale of Class LL. The state divides schools by population for a reason, but curiously enough, the largest disparity in student enrollments is within Class LL, which is just it's a tough break, but there's really not a lot you can do about it. But yeah, so you just think to yourself that whether it's like recreational leagues or what have you. Last year, at least, the talent seemed to be on the McMahon side of town. This year, who knows?
But don't knock just those girls at Norwalk yet. As they struggled in volleyball, they were very, very good in field hockey, and we'll cover that field hockey team in just a little bit. But moving down our list, stop number 1 on Friday morning will be with the Danbury Hatters. They were 4-12 last season, 6th in the Western Division. Missed out on the FCX and missed out on states. You've got the biggest, one of the biggest high schools in the state here, Don. Very unlikely they're not able to figure this out and get a lot closer, at least make states and push themselves up toward the top 8 of the FCAC.
Yeah, I mean, a school like Danbury, the potential is always there. A school of that size can always reload quickly, and there's always going to be athletes in the program. The thing is, the key is going to be, is the volleyball experience there, and if it's not, can you gain it over the course of the regular season before you head into the FCAC playoffs?
And obviously, this is a Danbury team that's going to have a lot of success with cross country. We saw them have a great soccer season before coming up short against a Ludlow team, but all stuff we'll cover as we continue working down the list.
That's Ludlow. They pull the upsets at tournament time.
Ludlow really did, and we don't have Ludlow in the top 8 today because they are going to be our third to last stop. But this is a Ludlow school that had a lot of under-the-radar success in the fall for having won several state FCAC and state championships.
Right, and they were always just under the radar. They were always it was kind of strange the way it worked out. They were never at the very top of the league. They were always maybe second or third, but they were just sort of lurking there. They were kind of in that also dangerous part of the conversation. And then they pulled off the upsets in soccer and volleyball, and it was just kind of a curious run that they went on as the fall went on.
Moving down our list now, Friday mid-morning, we will make our way to Tiger Hollow. You have the Ridgefield Tigers, who were 13-3, first out of the Western Division. Lost in the FCX semifinals as the number 3 seed to that Fairfield Ludlow team. It was a close match, too, 3-2 sets, came down to that 5th and ultimate set. They also lost in the state quarterfinals as the number 6 seed. They fell 3-2 to Southington. Very, very talented Tiger team. They're going to rebuild. They're going to look to at least make it to the FCX championship this year, believing that they could have beaten the Ludlow Falcons.
Yes, I mean, Ridgefield, great year, as you mentioned, 13-3, winning the West, coming seeded 3rd in the FCAC tournament. They believed they were as good as anyone in the league last year, and certainly, they had the same record as the league champion. No reason to think that Ridgefield can't repeat and take that FCAC this year.
When we look at New Canaan, 5-11, they were the 7th seeded team out of the East. Missed out on FCX, missed out on states. This is an interesting New Canaan program. They're a very middle of the pack team, Dom, but haven't really been able to climb over that mountain into the postseason and have that kind of success just yet. Still.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain. It would seem that all the pieces are there for the Rams to be a premier volleyball program. It's just never quite worked out that way. But who knows? This could be the year.
Hopefully so. And, Kim Palmer, a great coach down there for the Rams. They're trending in the right direction, but still just looking to find those 1 or 2 players who can really push the program to the next level. We'll then see Trumbull and St. Joe's that'll be on Monday morning next week to wrap out our top 8. Trumbull 11-5, 3rd in the Western Division. They lost in the first round of the FCX to Ridgefield as the number 6 team. Lost in the second round of the state tournament as a 13 seed. Both times they were shut out 3-0 against Ridgefield and Cheshire. Trumbull, an up-and-down program, a very good year last year, put themselves in contention wasn't able to really hang with the big boys per se in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it was a younger team. They were able to play well, but not consistently so, or just not at a high enough level to knock off some of the top programs. I look for them to take a step forward this year. I mean, I feel like I'm saying that about all the teams, but it's the preseason, so everyone's hope springs eternal for everyone. But as you mentioned, in 13 seed in the States, losing to Cheshire, but Cheshire, one of the premier programs in the state also. So we could see some big things out of Trumbull this year, no question about it.
Finally, the eighth stop of our tour will be at St. Joseph's. They were 8-8 last season, 5th in the East. They just missed out on making it for the FCAC playoffs. They were the 9th seed overall in the conference. They lose in the second round of the Class M state tournament as the number 13 seed to a Waterford team. This is a St. Joe's team that's tough to get a read on for me. They graduate a lot, but they've got some up-and-coming players who could keep them in that mix, but I think they might be a year or two away here, Don.
I think so, too. For St. Joe's this year, coming off an 8-8 season, really, I think a realistic goal is, just to make it into the FCAC tournament this year. That you'll probably need to go 9-7 to do that, so you need to improve one game on last year. That's a realistic goal. They may be a year or two away from challenging the top teams.
We will take a break here on Nutmeg Sports, but when we get back, Don and I will preview the 8 schools of boys and girls soccer that we'll be stopping at first on our Fall FCAC Tour, which starts Thursday right here on the HAN Network.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with the Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
We welcome you back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Donald Eng in studio today as we are previewing the first 8 teams we will visit with on our Fall FCAC Tour. We just wrapped up the 8 volleyball teams. We move over now to boys soccer, where Fairfield Ludlow is also the defending champ, and the defending runner-up again, Don, is the Darien Blue Wave. They fell at the hands of Ludlow 2-1. Darien was the number 2 seed in the tournament. They were first place out of the East with a 10-1-5 record. They were also the state runner-up. This is a Darien soccer team that overachieved greatly last season.
They really did. I mean, it was... I didn't think from the preseason. I didn't think it was a vintage Darien team, but they made that run through the FCAC through the regular season, 10-1-5, as you mentioned, first place, top seed, and they just, it's a story that quite a few teams could have said last year. They ran into Ludlow at the wrong time.
And Ludlow seems to be the only team that might have stopped Darien from almost a clean sweep of the whole season, it feels like. But you knew the football team was going to be very good. Field hockey is always going to reload with Mo Minikis as your coach. Boys soccer is not traditionally a power out of Darien but this was a very good team. It was a senior and experience-led team, and they went on 2 great runs for the FCIAC and the state, just coming up short in both as they fell 4-0 to Glastonbury in that state championship.
Right. I mean, Glastonbury had one of those. Glastonbury had one of those teams that you'll see like once in a decade at any given school, where the pieces just fell into place, and they were a dominant program by the end of the season. They were pretty clearly the best team in the state, I thought.
And it was a Glastonbury girls team that won states as well. Moving on, we go to Bryan McMahon. They had a 5-9-2 record, 17 points. They were 6th in the East Division. They just missed out on, or a little out of the FCIAC picture there, but they just missed out on states. And they were a team starting to figure it out at the end of the year. You would have thought they might have had a chance to steal a game or 2 in states.
Yeah, I mean they were playing better as the season rolled on, and then as we said with volleyball, it's kind of a tough break for McMahon. McMahon boys 5-9-2, 6th place, just missed the FCIAC tournament and just missed the state, and then Norwalk 5-6-2. 5th place in the division, just missed the FCIAC. They actually did make it into the state tournament, but lost to Staples as the 29 seed. So, the 2 smaller schools in both in Class LL, it puts you at a competitive disadvantage. But both teams actually seem poised to improve a little bit on last season.
And I think missing out on both and having missing out on both for McMahon, and you have Norwalk make the states, I think that leaves this a hungry Senators team this year. But it's a Norwalk team with a little bit of experience, and it's always tough, no matter who you are, to run into an FCIAC team come the playoffs. And it's unfortunate to see 2 FCIAC teams play in the first round, because you really believe that either of those teams would be able to win 1 or 2 games moving forward.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, and particularly when you play an entire season and then you make the state playoffs and you see a conference opponent. It's in the NFL and the NBA that wouldn't happen because of the way the seeds work out. But it's a tough break. Just nothing you can do about it.
Danbury boys soccer was 11-2-3 with 36 points. That was good enough for not only first place in the West, but the entire conference. They lost in the FCIAC semifinals against Ludlow. And then, as if that wasn't tough enough, an absolute heartbreaker in the second round of states as the number 10 seed, and they lose to Farmington 2-1 in double overtime. It was a very disappointing postseason for a Danbury team, Don, that just rolled through the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of thought that Danbury was one of would be a threat to win the state championship, even after losing in the FCIAC semi to Ludlow, those guys again. But we all thought that this team had enough to be a contender. Just didn't work out that way. A double overtime loss to a very talented Farmington team.
Ridgefield sneaks into the FCIAC playoffs as the number 8 seed. They finished the season 8-6-2, 26 points. They lose to Danbury first round of FCIACs. Then, as if that wasn't tough enough, they're the 22 seed in states. You got to play the Darien Blue Wave, and that's how they exited out of the states in the first round.
Right. I mean, as we've been saying, it's a bit unfortunate to have to play a conference opponent in that first round of the state tournament. It's just the way it works out, though, with the predominance of double L teams in the FCIAC. It's a tough break, but that's the way the tournament seeds work out.
New Canaan went 3-8-5, 14 points. They missed FCIAC in states, 7th in the East. They're coming off a pretty successful year back in 2014. Just can't find a way to rebuild and regroup and keep it together. Trumbull boys soccer goes 7-6-3 for 24 points. 5th in the West, miss out on FCIACs, lose in the first round 2-1 against Cheshire in the states. And St. Joe's, a very tough year, down 1-12-3. 8th place in the East Division, miss FCIAC, miss states. They'll turn things around. I expect to see them up higher in the standings, at least in the FCIAC this season.
No question about it. Coming off a 1-12-3 season, again, as I was saying, just take an incremental step. A little bit of improvement this year, and then maybe next year aim for the state tournament, and then you build from there.
Staying on the pitch, but we'll switch it over to the girls section here. Ridgefield was the FCIAC champion. They defeated St. Joe's 2-0 in the championship. Darien missed out on the championship finally in one of these events as they lost in the semis as the number 7 seed. They finished the year 5th in the East, lost in the second round of states as well, and that was against Staples. It was a very, very talented Darien girls team, though, that again, I thought overachieved and exceeded expectations from where they started.
Yeah, I mean, they played going 9-6-1 against an FCIAC girls soccer schedule is impressive. Is impressive, really, when you think about it. You get to the state playoffs. just unfortunate to lose in the second round. But we expect them to come back strong.
McMahon girls soccer having a real tough year. 2-13-1, 7th in the East. They miss out on FCIAC and States. It's, again, one of those programs where we talked about volleyball really carried McMahon last fall. You expect to see a bit of a turnaround in some of these other sports as they come into their own with a lot of youth moving up. Norwalk goes 2-13-1 for 7 points. They also missed out on FCIAC and States. They tied with McMahon for 7th in the East. Danbury girls soccer, 17 points, 6th in the West. They just missed out on both FCIAC and States. That could be that's a program to watch this year, Don.
Yeah, I mean, because the success of the Danbury boys in soccer, now the Danbury girls really kind of coming into their own. With missing the States, missing the FCIAC tournament last year, I expect them to be hungry, and they're always a talented bunch.
You had the Ridgefield girls 11-2-3, 36 points. First in the West, the FCIAC champs as the number 3 seed. They defeat St. Joe's, and then they lose in the States against Glastonbury. A 5-3 loss. It was a very powerful Glastonbury team, but this is a girls team from Ridgefield that got hot at the right time, had a great goalie, and it leads them to a run to an FCIAC championship.
Right. I mean, that Glastonbury team doubled in Class Double L with the boys and girls soccer championships. You just run into that power team, and you find yourself heading home from the tournament.
New Canaan girls went 8-8. They finished the season with 24 points. They just missed out. They missed out on the playoffs for the FCIAC by 4 points. Essentially, a win and a tie keeps them out. They find a way to creep into the States as the number 23 seed. They make it all the way to the semifinals where they lose to Ridgefield 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great run for the New Canaan girls. Kind of surprising as a 23 seed to see them going through and knocking off some of the higher seeds. And then once again, you run into a conference foe, and that's just the way it is.
Trumbull girls, they missed out on the playoffs for the FCIAC by 2 points. They went 8-6-2, 26 points total, 5th in the West. Lost in the first round of States against Hall in double overtime, a 2-1 loss. And that was a Trumbull girls team that felt robbed missing the FCIAC, and you really thought was going to be able to make a run. Just a tough way to see your season end.
Certainly. I mean, double overtime loss, it literally does not get any closer than that. It's almost like a coin toss. It could have gone either way.
For St. Joe's, they were 16-0 in the regular season, Don, put up the max 48 points. They're first place in the East. They finish as the FCIAC runner-up, falling to Ridgefield. But really a great job by this team, rallying around, coming back, and being able to right the wagon. They defeat Suffield 2-0 and were crowned the Class M state champs.
Yeah, it's nice for St. Joe's being the lone Class M representative. You don't have the other schools there lurking in the Class Double L playoffs. And for the cadets, you don't really expect them to fall too far. 16-0 last year, undefeated again, kind of unlikely, but they won't be far off.
We'll take one more break here on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, Don and I will look at a preview of the first 8 field hockey schools, and we'll touch on the football, cross country, and girls swimming state champions from last season.
Warm weather, light breezes, boats are in the water. There's no better place to celebrate summer than the Dock Shop. Whether in Darien at 51 Tokenique Road or Westport at 609 Riverside Avenue, the Dock Shop is where you'll find everything you need to kick off summer. From the latest summer apparel to the newest fishing tackle, the Dock Shop will help you get the most out of your next beach day or harbor cruise. At the Dock Shop, you'll find a wonderful selection of items made in the USA and right here in New England, all with a distinct nautical flair. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the coastal lifestyle, this is a unique place to shop. DockShop.com.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Chop off your knives to be sharpened. Grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach.
I'm a television presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune into Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. More than 1.5 million viewers have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment broadcasting since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome you back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network as Don and I shift over to last season's field hockey teams for the first 8 teams of our FCAC Tour. We start with Darien, the FCAC champs. They were undefeated, first in the East, beat Wilton in the championship, but lose then the rematch in round 2 of States, Don, 3-2 against Wilton in overtime.
Right, and Brian McMahon, the Senators, tough year last year, 1-13, 7th in the East, missed out on the FCAC playoffs and also missed state playoffs.
A very successful season from the Norwalk field hockey team, 11-3 for 22 points, good enough for 3rd in the East. They lost in the FCAC semifinals against Wilton. Come back, they lost in the second rounds of States as the number 4 seed, 1-0 against Cheshire.
The Danbury girls field hockey, 5-9, 10 points, 6th place in the FCAC West, missed out on the league tournament and also on the state tournament.
Ridgefield was the other team that fell at the hands of Wilton in the postseason. They lost in the first round to Wilton 2-1 after going 3rd in the West for the number 7 seed. They lost in the first round of States to Cheshire 2-0.
New Canaan field hockey, 10-3-1, good for 4th place in the FCAC East, lost in the league semifinals 2-1 to Darien, but then went on to win the Class M state championships as the number 7 seed.
I knew one of the captains of that team pretty well.
Yeah, I heard.
Someone named Catherine. I think I knew her pretty well. For Trumbull field hockey, they were 4th in the West Division, 8th seed in the tournament, lost to Darien 5-1 in that opening round, came back in States, and they lost 3-2 in Norwalk in the opening round.
And staying in Trumbull, the St. Joseph Cadets with a tough year last year, 1-13-1, 2 points. That was good for 8th place in the East, missed out on the States and also in the FCX.
Don, we'll obviously talk about football a little bit more when we get to that opening week before our Ridgefield and Trumbull games, but just some of the other fall sports that we didn't have time to cover today. Girls swimming, New Canaan was the FCAC championship. They beat Ridgefield. But in the swimming states, you had Greenwich as a state open champion. They won Class LL. Darien won Class L. Boys cross country, Danbury won the conference. You had Staples who won the open. They came in 2nd in Class LL with Danbury in 3rd. And Darien, the runner-up in Class L. For girls cross country, Ridgefield was your county champion. They were 3rd place at the Open Championships and the runner-up in Double L. It's very exciting that we're going to get to go see all these teams on Thursday, meet with these captains. A lot of new faces, some old faces, but either way, it's just great that we are this close now to the fall season.
You can almost smell the tailgating, can't you? It's close. It's coming.
So that will do it for this episode of Nutmeg Sports. Tune back in tomorrow where I preview. I'm still trying to find someone to stand at your desk. The final 9 teams of our FCAC Tour as we look at their fall captains and what lies ahead for them. Again, we want to mention that we have partnered up with Frontier Sports and Advantage Sports Network. And that will be our new home for the fall broadcast. For everyone here at HAN Network, we'll see you tomorrow.